Hello, and welcome to Internet Reads, which is basically kind of like a little small channel to myself where I discuss a lot of my nostalgia when it comes to TV shows and movies and music. Hopefully, I'll dig into a little more of that. But today, I wanted to dig into one of my all time favorite TV shows. I rewatch this every year or every couple of months or so. So, the TV show that I'm going to be talking about today is obviously Teen Wolf. And I'm talking about the TV show from 2011 and it ended in 2017, starring Tyler Posey, Holland Roden, Crystal Reed. I'm going to be discussing that show in particular, and I'm going to be discussing some of the relationships within that show. And most specifically, kind of the relationships that have a little bit of a weird age gap between them. Today, I wanted to dig into Teen Wolf, and in particular, 3 relationships that I picked out from the show during my rewatching. More specifically, seasons 1 to 3. Once I get to season 4 and the rest of them, I don't really watch them. It's mostly because they get a little too gritty and kind of gorish a little bit. Not really, but they get a little more gritty and I don't really like that type of content. But I might go back and rewatch them. We'll see. So let's get into the actual video. Sorry the intro is so long. So let's get into the weird age gap relationships in Teen Wolf. So, Teen Wolf was definitely a product of its times, and back then, I didn't even know or understand what a power imbalance in a relationship was. I didn't even understand age, really, or the difference in between couples. If somebody was 15 and somebody was 20, I was like, okay, that's a couple. I didn't understand how that relationship can be viewed by each partner, or how different it would be for each one. Granted, I was also very young when I was watching Teen Wolf. I think I was around 11 or so. My brother would watch it and I'd be like, oh, what's that? And being the nosy little sister that I was, I'd watch it too. And I actually really like the show. But after rewatching it a couple of times, some of the relationships, if not all, are pretty bad or just haven't really aged well. And if you guys have seen the movie, I don't know if you guys have, but I have, and some of the relationships there are a little iffy too. But we'll address that later. I don't know if the fan base has some of the same distaste as I do for some of these pairings, since it does include some people's favorites. But keep in mind, I will be talking about these characters when they were in high school / still minors. So, well, if they were in high school or still minors. So the first relationship I want to dig into is Derek and Erica. Now, I know that Derek is a really likable character. He's good looking, he's charming and intriguing, and I like him as a character too. But I cannot get over this brutal relationship that he has with Erica. It's not so much a relationship, it's mostly kind of a little partnering between them, because we never really get any actual scenes of them being super romantic with each other. We don't get that. We don't get to see that. In season 2 of Teen Wolf, Derek is recruiting members for his pack. He's trying to find some local teenagers, I guess, to turn. So he's in a hurry to build. So in an attempt to lure Erica into the bite, he basically sneaks into the hospital where she's being taken because she had a seizure. And he sneaks her out of her room and takes her to this dark, dimly lit hospital room. And he inappropriately kind of touches her on her feet and stuff. It's a little weird. And he basically feeds into her insecurities about her appearance, her illnesses and certain things like that. And he comes off as a total creep. He also grabs her in a really inappropriate manner. He grabs her legs and tries to pull her off the table. It's really weird, and I hated this moment, and it's really creepy, and it's it did not need to be this weird. And so in season 2 of Teen Wolf, I believe they are all sophomores in high school, so that makes Erica roughly around 15-16 here. and Derek is around 23/22. Oh, 23/24, sorry. So nearly a 10-year age gap. It's pretty weird and it's gross. It's not a one-time thing on his part either, because he clearly enjoys the attention he gets from her. Erica does kiss him one time, but he pushes her off of him and he tells her to stop. But clearly there is more to their relationship than just the usual like alpha and his pack deal. It's also different because Erica is the only woman in his pack. So clearly he has a little bit of a more different connection with her than with the other two men in his pack, which are Boyd and Isaac. So there's a really clear imbalance of power, not only because he's older, but he's also like her alpha, her mentor, basically like the person leading her through her transformation, which is crazy, honestly. Once I think of it like this, it's really weird and it's strange, and Derek has such a bigger role here than just being her lover, and it's even calling him that is weird because she's clearly like 15-16 here, and the way that he baited her into his pack was just really wrong. And the way that they really switched up his character because they really wanted to make him kind of like the red herring villain of the season, because this is when Derek turned a little more rough and he doesn't play nice, or as he did in season 1. He's not very, I guess, not trying to form a connection with either Scott or Styles or like his friend group. He's clearly trying to build his own pack by turning teenagers. We know that's bad, especially because it's brought up later. But that is relationship number 1. Now, relationship number 2, and I think this one is probably one of the worst ones of the show. Relationship number 2, which is Kate and Derek. Now, disclaimer, I don't consider this a real relationship at all. It's obvious that Derek is the clear victim here, but the show never really addresses it as such. Like, it never clearly calls him out to be a victim. I don't think. Depends. I have to rewatch maybe. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Of course, it leaves the interpretation up to the audience, but still. It's never directly stated that Kate is a groomer. She clearly is. She was in her mid-20s when Derek was a teenager. He was around 16. Derek was also in a very vulnerable state, and she used that to her advantage. So in Derek's backstory, Derek actually ends up having to kill his girlfriend at the time, which was Paige. He ended up having to kill her because she didn't survive the bite. He basically took out of her misery, and he had to do that because she asked him to. So Derek was in a very vulnerable state. He was very sad, I guess, like even depressed. And then here comes Kate taking advantage of him and his very sad state. And we know that Kate and Derek is bad because she's the villain in season 1. She's the villain. She's there to attack and get the alpha. But if Kate wasn't the villain, I don't think it would be as obvious that like she's obviously like a bad person or something. It's clear that like try to make it seem like, oh, they dated and it just didn't go well, but it's not really like that. She's clearly a weirdo. So in season 1, we're still very new to Derek and his backstory. We don't really know much, but it's clear that Derek and Kate share an unhealthy past, especially since she came to Beacon Hills to kill the season 1 alpha, which was Peter, but she still had it out for Derek because Derek is also a werewolf. But like she has a little more of a vendetta against him. She even ends up capturing Derek and ties him up to a metal fence as if he's an attraction of some sorts. And in this scene, Kate is showing Allison what their family really does when they hunt for, this is just for context. This is also where we find out Derek's age, and he's actually around 22/23 in season 1. Even when Derek is tied up, Kate like grabs him inappropriately and like passively aggressively like flirts with him. It's weird and it's just gross. Like she's clearly kind of taunting him because she knows she has the upper hand here. And I'm guessing this is how their relationship was. There is no doubt that Kate is proud of her achievements and all she's done. She only got closer to Derek in order to get closer to his family, and then eventually kills them all off, leaving Derek Peter, Laura, and Cora alive. So there's a ton of bad blood between them. And Kate got what she deserved in season 1, and then they said fuck that and brought her back for some reason just to be the villain again. Twice. And that is absolutely lame. So that's one of the weird, I think that's like the major like age gap relationship there, because it's weird. And now the third relationship that I want to talk about is Lydia and Jordan, or Parrish, if people probably know him that way. Honestly, Parrish and Lydia never worked together, and I never really liked them together either. It makes it even weirder because Parrish doesn't actually appear in the show until season 3, I believe, and it's stated that he's 24. I believe 24. And they don't get together, like flirt with each other, until season 4, when they have like the Deadpool, and they're trying to figure out like who started it and why they're on the list and stuff. So they begin to form a little connection with each other. And season 4 begins with the crew going into their senior year of high school, which puts everyone roughly around like 17/18, depending, maybe even 19. Lydia being freshly, like, I'm gonna say she's 18, doesn't make it better because clearly she's an adult, okay? She can make her own choices. But still, I find this pairing weird because she's still in high school and Parrish is a deputy for like the police force there. And the relationship is just weird, alright? I think it lasts until season 5, and then it runs its course and Lydia and Stiles get together for some reason. So I never really liked Lydia and Parrish together. It felt really weird. I think the show tries too hard to put people together because it needs relationships. It really doesn't. Because we followed Stiles from season 1 to season 3, and he wasn't in a relationship through those 3 seasons, but still he's everyone's favorite character. So like, relationships aren't necessary in this show, but for some reason they get forced a lot, especially like Scott and Malia at the end for some reason. I don't know why they were ever a couple. It's so bizarre. But yeah, so those are just some of the relationships that I wanted to point out specifically, especially their weirdness together. Especially, I think Kate and Derek is probably one of the rougher ones of this show. But I still love this show. It's still one of my favorites. It's a comfort one for me, and I don't mean to trash it, although sometimes it is a little deserved, okay? It is a little deserved, but sometimes you have to destroy the things you love. And I love Teen Wolf, but there's some things that really need to be addressed with it, and that's perfectly fine. You can still love something and then criticize the hell out of it. That's just how the world works, okay? So if you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and like and subscribe and comment. I would like to hear you guys' opinions on some of these relationships, or just like this show in general, if you guys have watched it or not. Or, well, obviously you've watched it after watching this video. But anyways, that's all. So, bye!